today, ladies and gentlemen, live from Radio Row here in beautiful Los Angeles for Super Bowl 56. We have a lot going on, and ladies and gentlemen, right now joined by Pro Football Network insider and reporter Aaron Wilson. And Aaron, obviously, you know, I know you're a busy man. Look, Aaron got in last night, and first thing is, like, he got off the plane. He had stuff happen. There was a whole bunch of stuff going on, and he was just working at the airport. We got in last night, and he's like, man, what a day. Obviously glad to have you here at Radio Row. Your phone is always going off, but the work never stops. You know, first off, let's talk about the Houston Texans job. Lovie Smith is officially their man in Houston, and there's a lot kind of riding on the line here. Overall, there was some change in mind because there was Jonathan Gannon, who was considered as one of the finalists for that job. Josh McCown was kind of a surprise name at first. It kind of came out of left field earlier this week. And then obviously now Lovie Smith kind of out of nowhere yesterday. We kind of found that out.
Right. What happened with Lovie, as they were going through the process, they were looking for experience, and their other top candidate, Josh McCown, doesn't have that experience. He's a former NFL quarterback. It's unconventional hire if they had done it. And, you know, you think about where Josh McCown is. He's got a bright future, just not right now with the Texans and, you know, as a head coach. And it's tough in this climate to hire Josh McCown and name him your head coach when he's only coached at the high school football level. Everyone will tell you, being a backup quarterback, the Frank Reichs, the Jason Garretts, it's a great path to become a head coach because you know a lot. You have a lot of knowledge. You help to build the game plan. You help to run the offense. The issue becomes when you skip a lot of steps, it bothers a lot of people. And it's, you know, a different kind of dynamic. And we're at a point right now with the lawsuit of Brian Flores. I was told that is a factor, not so much just for the Texans, but the entire league. And Brian Flores is someone that could have had that job. He ceased to be a candidate when he, filed the litigation, and, it's a class action lawsuit. And he actually has no problem with the Texans. He was given, in his opinion, a very fair shake, and he interviewed in person, and it was a serious interview. And he has a great relationship with Nick Caserio and Jack Easterby of the Texans. They work together, of course, with the New England Patriots. It's just a matter of what's happening around the league. And that was a factor. Jonathan Gannon made a really strong presentation. At one point, I thought it was headed in his direction. I thought he would have a good chance, and met Jonathan at the Senior Bowl. It was going smoothly, and they really liked him. And, they just felt like they wanted to keep a lot of their staff. Lovie gives them continuity, and he's been a head coach before. His last year with the Chicago Bears, he was 10-6. And then he didn't do well with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Didn't really have a great roster. He was almost a Texans hire back in 2014. The late Bob McNair, the Texans owner, is no longer with us. He was going to hire him. And then they shifted to Bill O'Brien. The search firm, Korn Ferry, recommended Bill O'Brien, and they wound up going with Bill. And they had some success with Bill. They won some, division titles. They never made it to the AFC Championship game. They're the only team in the AFC South to not reach the AFC Championship game. And where they are now, they're working on finalizing a deal, as we've reported, and it's been heading this direction since yesterday. It changed course. So, like you said, when I landed, when I took off, we even had a, been published, but we were ready for Josh McCown. And then they shifted gears, and that's how quickly these things can happen. So the Texans now moving forward with Lovie Smith, and I expect them to finalize this deal today and announce him in a press conference as soon as Tuesday morning in Houston, Texas. So Lovie Smith, got to know him a lot this year, including at some events away from NRG Stadium. He was at Texas Southern to meet with their coaches, and very good guy, very good communicator, good leader. Defensive scheme is, I would say, it's built on creating turnovers. They did give up a lot of yards. They were kind of a bend but don't break outfit. He didn't have great talent. He was able to get some big plays out of John Grenard and Desmond King and sometimes Justin Reed, but Malik Collins. But it's not like it was a star-studded defense. Common Grugier-Hill was very productive. So they'll have some work to do on that side of the football. And they've got a good young quarterback in Davis Mills, who I thought was impressive at times as a rookie and grew into the job and replaced Tyrod Taylor. So they've got a quarterback in place. What they've got to do is build this offensive line. They got to have a better running back. They're losing some position coaches. Robert Prince was tweeting just before we started, is now the Dallas Cowboys receivers coach. So a lot of change. And, when I think about Lovie, steady. And I think that's what they're looking for someone that's steady. And they interviewed him last year. They were actually talking to him before they hired David Culley, but they were only considering him as a coordinator.
Yeah.
And no offense to David Culley, I think very highly of. He's more qualified. His resume says head coach more than David Culley, who hadn't been a coordinator or a head coach. But they decided to go with David Culley, and now they've written him a huge check, $17 million he'll receive to not be their coach. So you look at everything that's happened, and it's been an interesting search because it could have been Brian Flores. It could have been Josh McCown. And now it's Lovie Smith. Kevin O'Connell, I never got a sense that he was very passionate about pursuing the Texans job. And now he's going to be the Vikings head coach, the Rams offense coordinator. So you look at where this has gone, and yeah, a lot of things have changed over the past week. I mean, I was in Mobile at the Senior Bowl, saw Brian Flores meeting with the Saints, and the next day he had his formal interview. He's having a dinner meeting with them, nice seafood restaurant, and just things happen fast. The next day, the lawsuit came out.
Yeah.
What's interesting is a lot of coaches are not joining the class action, and that includes Steve Wilkes. It's kind of impractical. If you're going to be in a lawsuit, it's difficult to work for a team.
Yeah.
Especially that team, which is being sued by Brian Flores. So Steve Wilkes is a defense coordinator candidate for the New York Giants with Patrick Graham joining the Raiders, and he's not joining. David Culley has been paid handsomely, and they've basically guaranteed the entire contract. He's going to wind up making about $22 million.
Wow.
So, while yes, it's unfortunate, and for him, not what he expected. He expected to be the coach, expected to come back. Wanted them to move on from some of his coaches, and they move on from David Culley, but he's not inclined to join litigation either, and that's been communicated. So where that leaves the lawsuit, and I think I won't prejudge the case, but there has to be some serious receipts to do well in this litigation. And what my understanding of the entire climate is that this lawsuit and the lack of diversity that has gone on around the NFL, all factors and things that people are taking into account all over the league.
Something to keep an eye on too, and I think one of the questions do we know yet the exact length of Lovie's contract, or is it kind of a conditional? Do you feel like it's year to year? Because I know that language hasn't been put out yet.
Right. I do not know how long the term will be. Like any coach, it doesn't last long, right?
If you get a 4 years, you're never guaranteed the real 4 years.
And a lot of people don't really understand this, but I'll point it out. The money that you spend for a coach, there's no salary cap. It comes from an operating fund. This isn't Cal McNair, the chairman and CEO, or his mother Janice McNair, the widow of the late Bob McNair, writing a check saying, here's $10 million. It all comes from the television money.
Yeah.
How much do you want to spend? How much is your profit? What do you want to take out of that? So when you look at, and it's even been joked about, hey, they're still paying Bill O'Brien, they're still paying Brian Gannon, they're still paying Rick Smith. And it's money, but it's not. When you're a billionaire, it's like if you spend $20, most people, they're not going to miss that.
Yeah.
It's just a different scale.
Yeah. It is. Oh, and even going back to with Houston, you were talking about some assistant coaches. Any word on whether or not Pep Hamilton will stay on? Because I know he had some interest from other teams. He declined the Panthers. I think he's been monumental, especially with his work with Davis Mills. And we've seen what he was able to do with Justin Herbert in Los Angeles. Do you imagine he'll stay around?
Yes, I think they will be able to keep him with a promotion to offense coordinator. You're going to have to give him a promotion to keep him. And what it will take, the Jacksonville Jaguars is an attractive job. One thing that's really important to Pep is staying in Houston, where his son is the starting quarterback at Pearland High School, starting to get some scholarship offers. Watched him throw a little bit. I haven't been to any of his games, but I've seen him, throwing at training camp. He throws a heck of a football. and he's got a bright future. So if you can keep your family in place, and he likes living in Houston, he has a good relationship, of course, with Lovie Smith and with their quarterback Davis Mills, and you're getting a promotion as opposed to going to Jacksonville and coaching Trevor Lawrence. Both good situations, but one he prefers. And Press Taylor, as we're reporting, is the likely Jaguars offense coordinator. He's the senior offensive assistant with the Indianapolis Colts, and I think he's going to be Doug Peterson's guy with the Jaguars. So, yeah, all signs point toward being able to retain Pep Hamilton, who did interview with the Bears, did interview with the Giants, and declined Carolina. Why? I was told because he thought maybe Matt Rule and those guys are going to be one and done. So if you switch jobs, if you job hop, you better hope you're making a good hop, unless you like the idea of moving every year. Most people don't.
No.
Yeah. But I think for, it's a nomadic existence, right, to be a NFL assistant coach. But for, what you see with everything with Pep Hamilton, I think he's going to wind up being with the Texans. We'll see if Josh McCown does that. I think that's emotional for Josh to get so close and so far down the road, and then to be told, hey, not yet. And I think, I won't speak for Josh, but, it's a disappointing situation because he was very close. And it's no offense to Josh, and I know they think very highly of him. It just didn't work out.
Situations like that do happen. I'll be intrigued to see with Lovie Smith if he'll still be, obviously as the head coach, if he'll still call defensive plays for them. That's going to be intriguing because I know there's a dynamic amongst head coaches. We've seen it with Vic Fangio, was a defensive-minded head coach, really super involved with the defense, not as much with the offense, but at the end of the day makes the ultimate decision for offense, whether to go for it on fourth down or to punt. Situations like that. Do you imagine he's going to call the defense, or do you think that maybe he might pass that, delegate that to somebody else and still oversee everything?
Wade Phillips told me something really interesting. He said, when I had my best performances with the Dallas Cowboys, I ran the defense. I could see Lovie doing that. When you look at his staff, what's left of it, they've lost Bobby King. They've taken on a little bit of water as far as guys that aren't there anymore. Miles Smith is his son. He's coaches the linebackers, has not been a coordinator. Greg Jackson has not been a coordinator. The safeties coach, Dino Basso, very young, has not been a coordinator. So there's not a lot of guys you could say, well, we're going to definitely up this guy. That's the move. And where does that leave them? Probably has to be someone from the outside. There's some other coaches out there. I've heard about some assistant head coach candidates. Jim Caldwell's name has been bandied about a little bit. We'll see if that materializes. Someone to augment what they're doing. And I think Jim is open to that. We'll see if that materializes. But, that's another name to keep in mind
Obviously,
for the Houston Texans.
A lot of insight here from Aaron Wilson, our Pro Football Network insider and reporter. Obviously, you can check out his amazing work, NFL news and notes and rumors as to what's going on, ProFootballNetwork.com. Aaron, appreciate your insight here. I think Jim Caldwell would be an interesting name to follow. One thing here, Tommy Garrett in the chat says, any inside information on whether Lovie Smith will keep the beard for good luck? That's a great question.
I think he keeps the beard.
I love it.
He likes the beard. Not everyone, I guess, some social media, not everybody loves the beard, but I think it's an impressive beard. And, that's his look. He looks wise, right?
I wish I could grow a beard like that. I can't yet. I'm working on it, but one day I'll get there. Probably when I'm a little older.
With age comes wisdom and perspective. He has both those things.
He does. Obviously, ladies and gentlemen, Aaron Wilson joining us on today's episode. PFN Daily coming up here in just a moment. We're going to be talking about the Miami Dolphins, Mike McDaniel being hired as the head coach, some more talking points on that. And then we're out of here on day one of Radio Row. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be back here in just a few moments.